Hello gamers and game developers, welcome to the Avian versus Rapier physics benchmark.
A little bit of a background first. I have started working on a game where the whole environment is supposed to be destructible and blocks will fly around and have full physics and everything, as you can see in the GIF here. I've started working on this, and the video you see is in the Godot game engine. A very cool object-oriented programming-based game engine that is written very similarly to Python. But I have pretty quickly hit some performance roadblocks with this. When I was destroying too much and there were too many loose blocks floating around, I had some troubles. So I've been starting to look into performance of physics backends. I want to mention again that Godot is really cool, but I wasn't able to get it going fast enough back then. I'm pretty sure that the game would have been possible to make in Godot as well if I had some more experience. However, at this point I took this as a chance, or took this chance to look into comparing what was available for modeling physics in games.
So I wanted to benchmark the available options a little bit. So I started by defining an experimental procedure to measure the performance of different physics engines. First we would start spawning balls, one ball per frame. And we drop this into a pit and just collect them in a big bucket and just have their collisions be our benchmark for the physics engines. So we just count balls and wait until the onset of frame drops, until we lose frame rate, and measure this as performance for our physics engines. My setup in the Godot engine looked like this. We have 3 walls and we just spawn at random positions above this ball pit our balls and let them drop in there with gravity enabled. Note that the balls are actually modeled as circular colliders, while we just use squares for the visuals.
Then I also did this in Bevy, a game engine that I found at the time that is entity component system based, where you compose your entities by adding functionality, adding components to your entities, and then systems run on them, which I figured sounded like a really good fit for having many blocks do the very same thing, right? So a full cup would look like this and then flow over. So this looks roughly like that. See the results that I got back then with the test setting in May 2025 with the up-to-date software in both engines at this time and a good laptop running this. In Godot, with the default physics engine in Godot back then, we got 2500 balls until we saw sharp decrease in frame rate. Godot had support for Rapier. Rapier gave us 2800 balls. Then switching to Bevy, there is a Bevy native physics engine that was quite young at the time, where both Godot and Bevy are still very young. Avian. It sounds really nice, it's really nice to work with, but at the time the performance was lackluster, at 1374 balls only. Rapier gave us 4858. Great. That sounds like we can explode planets with that. So I rewrote the whole game and went over to Bevy and started experimenting a little bit with first building up our planet. So we have just here a round planet with static blocks, and I let blocks rain on this. So this was then enabled in Bevy. This was actually working with fine frame rates to drop hundreds and hundreds or thousands even of cubes. Just let them rain on a planet. That worked really nicely. Even just putting a gravity center somewhere in space and letting blocks rain on this worked really well up until around 9,000 blocks until we saw sharper frame drops like here. So great, we can make destructible planets. Looks like something like this. If I put the little explosion somewhere, you see that some of the blocks are now marked in red, so they will be fully physically modeled and fly around because they're now loose. So we can also destroy larger parts of planets like that, and the frame rates were all still really good. And even big explosions where the blocks fly very far away from our planets look very nice. So I have been working with Rapier now for a while, but a couple months ago Bevy was upgraded to Bevy 017, and with that came a big Avian upgrade, 0.4. They claimed that Avian is now 3 times faster, has better multi-core scaling, and uses nice simulation islands which can save us a lot of processing power, especially in systems like the ones that I am trying to make here. So it's time to re-evaluate the decision and update my benchmarks from back then and share the results with the community. So this time I did it quite systematically and actually set up a simulation where we can change the physics backend during the experiments. So the 2D ball pit looks like that. Like you can see in the top right, 3D is in the bottom right. I set it up in a way that we can compile for Bevy 016, 017 and 018 and the corresponding physics backend versions of this, where the big jump in Avian's performance was happening in Bevy 017. Apart from that, we stuck to the old success recipe. We spawn 5 balls per frame this time, so it doesn't take too long. We count the balls, and we take a little bit more data than last time. So we take measurements for the first frame that dropped below 50 FPS. We take 1 second averages and measure when the average drops below 50, and we do the same for 15 FPS to measure when our ball pit completely bricks the computer. So let's go. Let's toast our computer a little bit and have a look at the videos and the measurements. All right, let's look at the benchmark for Avian 2D. The setup is now built in a way that everyone can run it on their machines. We have a Windows, Linux and Mac OS version uploaded to itch.io, and there's also a web version. But note that the web version is only single core. Wasm doesn't support parallel processing. We see in Bevy 0.16, Avian breaks down pretty quickly. I will later show you some data that was taken off camera as to not impair the performance of my computer through the parallel recording of this video. Alright, let's have a look at the 3D version. Here we built a box with a transparent wall in the front so that we can nicely see what's happening. Alright, good. Also the 3D version of Avian gives up rather soon, back in Avian 0.3 and Bevy 0.16. Let's go on. So this is the compiled data. We see the Rapier 2D simulation running in the background. Off camera, Avian 2D gave us around 4,000 for the first below 50, and the average hit 50 at 4,500. And we also see that the crash then came quite instantaneously. So the first below 15 is also observed at 4,450 already. But until the average reached below 15, we still had some time and went up to 7,890 volts.
Rapier 2D performs really well, as you can see in the background. We get 11,030 balls until we had to have the first frame drop below 50, and 12,310 balls until the average hits below 50. The values below 15 frames per second couldn't even be measured because our ball pit is too small. You will see the background filling up and completely filling and overfilling the ball pit. So up until this amount of balls of around 18,000 balls until the bucket is really full, it will still run at above 15 frames per second when measured off camera. Avian 3D gave us first below 50 at 3,500. At 4,200 we get the average below 50. And again similar value for first below 15, but average below 15 also very similar to the 2D variant, 7,700. In 3D, Rapier performs also extremely well, 14,000 balls until we hit below 50, 15 until the average is below 50, 28,000 balls until we have the first value below 15 frames per second, and 29 until the average goes below 15 frames per second. That's crazy good. So let's switch over to the 3D version of Rapier 2D and just show it in the background a little bit. But yeah, as I told you already, it performs extremely well. This was run on Avian 03 and Rapier 0.30. Let's go on. Let's now upgrade. We will skip the Bevy 017 variant because it's the performances are very similar to Bevy 018, and we will just look at the newest models of all of the physics backends and of Bevy itself. Hey, psst, hey you! If you like what you see so far, please like, share and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm and I really appreciate it. And this is the easiest way to follow further interesting devlogs like this, or also to keep up to date with my upcoming space game with way too much physics. Thanks! So let's have a look at Bevy 018. This benchmark was run with the newest available versions of the physics engines. At the time of this recording, this is Avian 0.5, but Rapier didn't have their official Bevy 018 support published yet. So this was run on a branch of a contributor who updated Rapier for Bevy 018 compatibility. The promised threefold increase of performance in Avian 2D is real. We see that first below 50 is now 9,500 balls. Average is 13.4 thousand below when we hit below 50 frames per second. That's a lot of balls, no? First below 15 is at 10k and average below 15 is at 14.1k. Rapier 2D still performs excellently as before. We get 12.7k until we have the first frame rate of below 50, and we get 18k balls until we average below 50. Both below 15 values still are immeasurable because it performs too well. I will leave you to the meditative side of this ball rain for now. Avian 3D also improved greatly with 8,800 balls for the first below 50, around 10,000 for average below 50 and first below 15. Average below 15 was reached at 12.4k. Rapier 3D still performs greatly. We observe more random frame drops in Rapier 3D, leading to a first value of below 50 at only 7.2k balls, but then the average below 50 is only reached at 18.9 thousand balls. First below 15 at 25.8 thousand balls, and 33.6 until we actually get to the average below 15. So we can fill a huge bucket with a lot of balls in Rapier 3D still. Yeah, in summary, Avian still has a long way to go if it wants to beat Rapier. However, in ergonomics and in having the actual ECS feel to it, I really like working with Avian already. That's why I'm looking forward to further improvements. But the progress has been amazing. It's incredible. You see the values shown in this diagram are the trends. So this is just the ratio of how many balls we can model this time versus in Bevy 016. So we really get the threefold increase that was promised in some of the values, and at least around twofold upwards in all of the performance values, the metrics that we took this time. Whereas Rapier remained largely consistent. Some values increased a little bit, some dropped a little bit, which are likely just random deviations that we could polish over time by running many repetitions of the benchmark. So let's have a look at the new version of my game that was ported to Bevy and has improved a lot in the meantime. This is the version that I wrote initially in Rapier. It's all really nice. We see really cool explosions. Blocks are flying around. Flying works really well. It generally has a really good feel to it. But now that Avian is actually competitive, I actually started building a backend where we can switch the physics engine. We can compile either version. So right now the game can be run in Avian and Rapier, and we see that Avian is now fully fit for the task. It works really smoothly. It's so nice. It's really fun already. I really love playing it already. I'm wasting way too much time playtesting sometimes. Like just shooting blocks around. Yeah, please visit molecularsadism.itch.io and check out the benchmark online. There's a web version, but Wasm doesn't support parallel processing, so the web version is run on a single core. And you can download the versions for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. All of them are available for Bevy 0.16, 17, and 18 with the respective physics engine versions. Just check out molecularsadism.itch.io. And feel free to leave a comment up there. Look forward to discussing with you. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. This was Florian from Molecular Sadism Games. Everything tastes better with MSG.